Okay, this is Mr. Peterson, and we're doing the notes for Algebra 2, Section 2.3a, Factoring Special Case Quadratic Expressions. Okay, there's a lot in this note set, and some of the easier types of factoring, but having said that, it's not necessarily an easy concept, so I'm going to do my best to explain this in a way that's more understandable. And each of these videos will be one page of the notes. Okay, so what are factors? They're the parts of a product. You might have a multiplication in the middle of two parentheses, or a multiplication on the outside of a parenthesis, or a multiplication between two numbers. And in each case, you have a product or a multiplication, and the parts that make up that multiplication are called factors. So one of the ways to break apart 20 would be 4 times 5. There's other ways. And if you choose 4 times 5, you're saying that 4 is a factor and 5 is a factor of 20. You could have said 2 times 10 or 1 times 20. And this little skill is going to be handy for you. If you go to your y equals key on your calculator and type in 20, in this case, divided by x, you can display all the factors of 20 by dividing by x. We're going to set up a table where we divide by 1 and then by 2 and then by 3, and x is going to change from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 like that, and you'll see the factors displayed. So let's go ahead and continue this. Second, table settings. You want to start your table at 1 in automatic mode, and then go to your table. You're going to come all the way over to here. And you can see 1 times 10 is one way to factor 20. Oh, excuse me, 1 times 20 is one way to factor 20. 2 times 10. 3 doesn't go into 20 evenly, so you skip that line. 4 times 5 is another way to factor 20. And when you get to the first pair that turns around, you know that all you're going to see is the backwards versions. 5 times 4. If you kept going, it'd be a waste of time because there's backwards versions. For instance, down here is 10 times 2. And if you scroll down far enough, you'd see 20 times 1. Now, where this comes in handy is when you have numbers that have lots of factors, like 60. You can display them here. And let me go back up to the table start 1 value. I went up there. 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15. These are all ways of factoring 60. 5 times 12 and 6 times 10. And you're going to see next one here is 10 times 6, which is just the backwards version of that one. I know I don't have to look any further when that happens. Okay, besides numbers that are factors of another number, you can have expressions that are factors of another expression. The stuff in front of this multiplication is the first factor, the number 3. And the stuff behind it, the back half of the multiplication, is the other factor. Now, you're used to multiplying this out and saying, well, if we distribute there, you'll get that expression. We're going to learn how to go backwards on this note set. Okay, the next thing here is a binomial here times a binomial, and we've got our multiplication there. The multiplication divides it into factors. So the first factor here is the 2x minus 5 part of it, and the other factor is x plus 4. Together, these form a multiplication problem. Now let's find out what we've got factors of. In other words, what expression over here has these factors. Well, we're going to do first times first here, and that would be 2x times x is 2x squared. The outside pair here, I'll label that O, is 2x times 4 gives 8x. And on the inside, you have, I'll label that inside, you have a negative 5 times x, which is negative 5x. And the last pair here, negative 5 times 4, I'll label that L for last times last, is negative 20. You can combine these middle terms here, and that'll finish the job here. That gives plus 3x minus 20. So here's the result of multiplying these two factors. And if you go backwards, it's factoring. So we've got 2x squared plus 3x minus 20 breaks out into this times this. So these are called the factors of that expression. Okay, so another example of this is a multiplication here and a multiplication here. There's three factors, the front one, the middle one, and the back one. The front one is just the 5. The middle one is at 2x minus 1. And the last part of this multiplication problem is the 3x minus 4. So that is the answer. That's the factored version. Let's find out what it's factors of by multiplying this out. I'm going to decide to leave the 5 for later, and I'm going to use first times first here, outside, inside, and last times last. Then I'm going to combine the like terms here. Often it's the outside and the inside. That's usually what it is. And now distribute the 5 all the way down. Five times 4 to finish this off. And we found out that this expression has these three factors. But we did it by working in the multiplication direction of things, and we're going to have to learn how to back up this ladder and go the other way. Okay, so when we get down here, I'm going to answer this question. What's meant by the instructions? Factor the expression. When you're asked to factor, you have to rewrite the expression as a product, which is code for a multiplication. So you got to create a multiplication that wasn't there before. So 30, we could say 5 times 6, that's one way to factor it. I'm going to do 3 times 10 as another way to factor it. If you want to see all the ways of factoring that number, you go 30 divided by x here. Set up your table to start at 1. And then go to your table, and you can see we could have said 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, we'll skip this one, 5 times 6, and then when we get to the reversed one, 6 times 5, we know we've gone far enough. Those are all the possibilities. Now, here's another expression, and you can see that on this side it's got the times there. We don't normally indicate that with a dot. We just put the stuff up against the parentheses. But this is the standard form version of it, it's called, and here's the factored form. This side is factored. And the reason it's factored is because there's the multiplication. We rewrote it as a multiplication problem. And I'll teach you how to do this on the next page. Later, and it's actually in the next note set, I'm going to teach you how to break this one apart like this. But all you have to see is that there's a multiplication there that wasn't there before. So this is the factored version of it. And I got to teach you eventually how to get from there to there. So that'll probably wait till the next note set. And what I'm trying to get across is pretty simple. When you break it down into its multiplication version, you're factoring. And when you go the other direction, you're checking by multiplying. So these skills are actually the reverse flow of each other. And so I'll take you to the next page where I'll show you why we're trying to do this. And in the next video, I'll also start the process of teaching you how to factor. So that'll have to wait till the next video.